welcome back to Reconnect TV, episode 39, I think we are. If you're joining me live, I hope you're joining me live. Just let me know how you are. Where are you in the world? Are you self-isolating? How are things with you? How are you feeling? How are you coping? Because I know obviously with many of us now having to self-isolate, that will affect our mental health, our well-being. You know, we can be riddled with fear. You know, it's not an easy time at the moment. So yeah, let me know how you are. Share how you're feeling. We all need support at the moment, so that's one of the reasons why I've come on to do this live, actually. So I just want to, if you're logging on, let me know where you are, who you are, and sorry, I'm just trying to share on my other page. Share now. There we go. Let me know how you are. How are you coping with everything at the moment? Because as I say, when we're having to self-isolate, you know, that the whole nature of our society, isn't it now, is being called into question. How we're living our lives, how we are, you know, how we've set the whole thing, the whole system up that supports our daily lives. You know, we're beginning to see now that the sort of economic systems that have governed our society, the governance systems that govern our society, when nature steps in, you know, they're not very real, are they? Very quickly we start to worry about food and toilet paper and medicines and the vulnerable in society, as we should. It's a very strange time, you know, and it was very easy to start with, to perhaps be a little bit glib about the virus. Then you start to think, oh my God, you know, this is serious. And then, you know, it's had a massive, massive effect on people's livelihoods, the economy, health, needless to say. And, you know, we've all got people that we're worried about. You know, I've got family members that I'm worried about. I'm having to self-isolate at the moment. So what I wanted to do was talk about really anything that you could do to support yourself in this difficult time. Because at the moment, you know, it's very difficult for us to get out there. We want to know what we're doing for ourselves is keeping us in the best place possible. I'm not talking about obviously not helping vulnerable people in society, not helping your neighbours, not doing that. I'm not talking about being selfish. But what I'm saying is we can do a lot to support our own health and body through how we live, what we eat, what we do, and all those kind of things to keep us in the best possible state. You know, and many people, I say, have gone into the supermarkets and ripped apart the shelves, and this is all. A lot of this has come about. I think a lot of these changes have come about actually because, as I say, the systems that we have built our society on, the social systems, the socio-economic systems, the economic systems, a lot of it has got to do with competition and this scarcity mentality. There aren't enough resources. I've got to hoard everything that I've got, and there's no, you know, society. The rest of society can go and, you know. But now we're seeing people and, you know, and even industries come forward and say, oh, well, actually, you know, we do need help. It's not every man for himself. You know, the airline industries, you know, asking for bailouts, which is the same in many respects as a person asking for help when the systems in society don't support them. So it'd be interesting to see what happens from here on in, you know, with pollution clearing, with lots of things happening. We're really looking at the things that sort of the more ecologically minded people have been asking us to look at for some time, which I think is no bad thing. Do we need to travel? Do we as excessively as we do? I mean, yeah, I love travel, but I don't like flying. I like to take my time and get there on land. I like the changing vistas. I like to allow my body to adjust to changing light and changing times. And do we need to consume all that we need to consume? You know, so there are all those kind of ethical issues that we're talking about at the moment. But nonetheless, what I came on to talk about today is how you can support your health and what sort of the principles of geomancy and one of the tools that we use can really help you with that. Now, as I've always said, I'm a spiritual geomancer in that I create environments that support health and harvest. Those are the two founding principles of all geomantic methods all around the world, which is working with this hidden energy in the environment to create health and harvest in our environment. And one of the tools that I use to help my clients with that is pendulum dowsing. Now, I know a lot of people dismiss it, but that's often because they don't realise how it works. So, excuse me, I've got hair in my mouth. So I just wanted to talk to you a little bit really about, or with you, and hear your questions about what you think about it and how applicable you think it is. Because at the moment, I would say it's probably more applicable to tap into our intuition, our divine knowledge, our ancient wisdom, if you like, that says, you know, all this is we're bringing about all this stuff ourselves, if you see what I mean, by how we live. So I wanted to talk a little bit, as I say, about pendulum dowsing. Obviously, this is a pendulum, but you can use a crystal, you can use a button, you can use a nut on a piece of cotton. It doesn't really matter what it is. So what is dowsing? Because many people dismiss it as in, oh, some kind of hocus pocus, or the pendulum is moving itself, or, you know, I can only work with a crystal because then the crystal gives me the answers. Actually, dowsing doesn't work like that. Dowsing is a very simple, natural process, and it is the bridging of the intellectual mind. Forms a bridge between the intellectual mind and the intuitive, the wise part, the conscious and the subconscious. So it links the two minds together. It's a doorway between mind and spirit, if you like. So our high consciousness can access all this information, and our day-to-day consciousness. It's about opening that door so the two can have a dialogue. Now, it is both an art and a science. And increasingly, dowsing is coming under scientific investigation rather than dismissing it as bunk. And we are now realising that we should be investigating the science of dowsing, because it is to do with all quantum fields and our quantum consciousness. So, and it's a holistic discipline when we get into it, and it teaches us to develop and use our intellect and our intuition together. So we don't go off on blind, random flights of fancy because we've got a vague answer of something. Dowsing is about being very specific in your questions and your focus, so that you take away the emotion really out of what you want to do. Because many people dowse and they'll get a vague answer and they don't really know what to do. And that really has come through not asking the right questions, or they're very attached to the outcome. And again, that's down to question forming and focus. So they don't want to hear, for instance, that they shouldn't be eating cheese because they love cheese. But the thing about it is you're looking for the truth to maintain your optimum health and well-being. Oh, morning, Mo. I can see people are watching, and finally my comments seem to be cut. I've had difficulty with my comments showing off. How are you? Where are you in the world? How are you coping with everything? So let me know. Dowsing, yes, studies have shown that the brain waves, our brain activity when we're dowsing, reveal a range of frequencies and a balance between the left and right hemisphere. So normally we're very left brain, very conscious, very analytical, and we often overthink things. And the right brain then is the more creative, the art side. And what we find that when we're dowsing, we get a balance of frequencies between the two. So we're using both our conscious and our subconscious intellect. We're using both our verbal skills and our non-verbal skills. And those brain waves, if you like, from dowsers when we're in the right mode. I've got something stuck in my mouth. Are comparable with people like long-term meditators and yogis, right? And this is people who've just been taught how to dowse properly. They haven't necessarily had to meditate all their life, and they haven't necessarily had to be a yogi for the last 30 years. It's something that we can all do, and it's indicative of both a balance and expanded extrasensory perception, that we can access that through dowsing. And again, extrasensory perception is something that lots of people are dubious about. But again, it's a very real and explainable phenomenon. It's to do with the marvellous capabilities of human beings in our minds. We're so often shut down in society, we're panicking. And at the moment, you can see it, people are, needless to say, panicking about their livelihoods, panicking about their health, riddled with fear. But, the society has got to look at itself and go, do you know what? Look what we've created. That when nature comes along, it so easily collapses. And, do we want to go back to what we've done? Or do we want to start working together collaboratively and protect our environment and our resources? So I've left the alarms on my phone. It'll go off in a minute. So we're panicking on that level, but actually on a greater level, there's a lot more going on. So dowsing when we're pendulum, Dr. Jude Currivan describes dowsing as a conscious attunement to the field of consciousness that non-locally connects each and every one of us with the cosmos as a whole. Now, what we're seeing at the moment is nature really pulling us up short. But we forget, when I talk about working with nature, people often assume I'm talking about, talking to trees or looking at flowers. When I talk about talking with nature, I'm talking about working with the entire cosmos. Everything is natural. My body is natural. The air is natural. Electromagnetic forces are natural. The sun is natural. The entire universe is natural. What we have done is taken ourselves away from being in touch with nature. Everything from every microbe, bacteria, single cell organism, we have disconnected ourselves by creating constructs in society, socio-economic systems, economic systems that have detached us from our true nature. And a lot of ancient wisdom would have us reconnect to nature to re-find ourselves. And dowsing enables us to consciously connect with these fields of information that sit behind the physical natural world. And dowsing enables us to tap into those fields of information so we can do what is best for us, what is best for ourselves, what's best for our neighbours, what's best for humankind, what's best for the earth as a whole. So, and then we have, dowsing is actually sort of a manifestation of your human body's response to sort of electromagnetic fields within your environment, which are very real, we just can't see them. Quantum fields, which are very real, we just can't see them. We have, as a species, a tendency to go, if I can't see it, feel it, touch it, smell it, and all those kind of things, the five densities, it can't be real. But there are many animals that see beyond the human spectrum. Dogs hear well beyond the human spectrum. It's just that we can't see, feel, hear or touch something. We often dismiss it. And what the geomancer's role is to allow us to access all those non-visible and non-hearing and non-feeling influences on us that are out there. And one of the mechanisms that I use is dowsing. So I hope that makes sense. So really, to put it simply, we consciously ask a question, carefully framed question using our pendulum, and our mind fields that go out there into the universe supply the answer. Now, a genuine need to know is a key factor in dowsing working well. So what many people do when they want to dismiss dowsing is they'll pick up and ask a nonsensical question, get a nonsensical answer, and then go, oh, dowsing doesn't work. Your need to know is really, really important. If you're running out of petrol in some really, really remote road and you're thinking, oh my God, I could be stuck out here, or you'll need to know whether you're going into a supermarket is safe at the moment and whether they're going to have the food stocks in at the time you're going, your need to know is paramount. And that's what enables dowsing to work really well. Now, when we ask a question, we wait for the movement of the pendulum through the dowsing tool. And this movement is the voice of our intuition. It's the voice of our higher self, our subconscious mind, giving this movement that will be a yes or a no response to our conscious question. And that's basically how dowsing actually works. So it's not about surrendering ourselves to intuition and irrational processes. It's not sort of going, oh, I had a vague notion, my deceased aunt's dead cousin's kitten gave me this information, I now have to act on it. That's just a flight of fancy. It has no bearing in relation to trying finding information that you're going to apply tangibly in your life now to maintain your sort of health, wellness, and look after yourself. So what are the kind of things we can ask questions about? Well, there are many things that we can use dowsing for. And at the moment, our own health and well-being and how we look after ourselves and, to make sure we're maintaining our own body systems and all those kind of things is really, really important, because we want to make sure that we are as healthy as we can be at the moment. And it's also useful for things, as I said, like, if I go to X supermarket at X time, will X be in stock for me to buy? So that you're not wasting trips going out unnecessarily and things like that. So dowsing is a really, really useful tool. But in terms of the things that we do dowse, we dowse, for instance, our diet, exactly what we're eating, food and vitamins and minerals, what we're getting, what we're not, how we can rebalance ourselves, any allergens and how we can deal with those, what's causing them, how we can limit them. We would also look at things like toxic load within the body. Many people do carry some form of toxic load. They were actually very good at eliminating stuff, but for some people they're not so good. So they will be carrying toxic loads of things like heavy metals, which can impair your immune system and things like that. And they will also look at external factors such as environmental stress, And that can be caused through things like electromagnetic stress. Electromagnetic sensitivity is a very real condition. And with all the Wi-Fi, 5G, 4G and things in our environment, they do disrupt our bodily processes. So we want to make sure that, you know, when we're using Wi-Fi and all those kind of technologies, we're using it in a safe and appropriate way for us. And again, dowsing then is a matter of using questions, carefully framed questions that enable us to hone in on the answer that we want. So for instance, I'll give you some examples of some worded questions to do with vitamins, because it's not just, you wouldn't just douse, am I getting enough vitamins, for instance, because you can either answer yes or no to that. Your pendulum might just sit there and do this, because yes, you might be getting enough of some, not enough of others. You know, you really have to break down your questions. So if I was, for instance, going to say, wanted to know that I was getting sufficient vitamins and minerals in my body for my immune system to function, then I would go through a series of questions. So my first question would be, does my present diet meet all my vitamin needs? Yes or no? Would a multivitamin preparation be the best way to meet my current needs? Yes or no? Am I deficient in any major vitamin? Yes or no? That's the question. Am I deficient in any mineral? Yes or no response. Is my body absorption rate of any major vitamin or mineral compromised in any way? Because sometimes we can take it in a tablet, but we don't absorb it. Yes or no? So we want to know these things. You know, what doses should I be taking? Because most vitamin doses are based on the recommended daily intake, which was developed during the Second World War to prevent us from getting things like rickets and scurvy and the conditions of war. They weren't for optimum health, and we can find that we actually need to take much more to maintain our optimum health levels. So we can look at the dosage. What is the dose? How long do I need to be taking that for? You know, would my overall health benefit from having a professional nutritional consultant? Things like that, which you can do online, great nowadays. And order your vitamins and minerals online, which is really good, especially at the moment. So there would be a whole series of questions that we go through. And that then takes the attachment out of it. You know, if you're looking at things like diet, what can and can't you eat? It takes the attachment out of it, and it takes the wishful thinking out of it. Because so often people get confused that they become attached to the answer. So for instance, like if you're looking at toxic load within the body, you think, oh, you know, let's say you find out that you're not absorbing your vitamins and minerals to a great degree, that it could be that you have a toxic load within your gut that's preventing you from absorbing the vitamins and minerals. So then you'd find, you know, you'd ask questions like, with the amount and frequency that I use, let's just say deodorant for example, is there any level of toxicity in my body? Yes or no? You know, what on a scale of 1 to 10, how toxic is it? 0 being not toxic, 10 being very toxic. So we break down everything we break it all down through a series of questions, not just, is my deodorant bad for me? Or define bad. You know, bad if you use it 3 times a day, bad if you use it 4. What do you mean by bad? You know, and it's the question forming that often lets people down. So with that in mind, if anybody would like me to do a Dowsing for Health masterclass, going through the basic questions for the basic things that you need to ask at the moment with regard to your health, so you can look after yourself to the best of your ability, I'm quite happy to put one together that would be available in my group, Divine Feminine CEOs, with some video tutorials and some question sheets that you can work through. So if anybody would like me to do that, let me know. It won't be a complete overall dowsing of every possible scenario, because I can't possibly do that in a free masterclass. That would be more a Dowsing for Health course. But I can put some of the things together for you if you would like to have a go at it. You don't need a particular, like I say, anything expensive. I've got some 5mm nuts on a piece of cotton. It just has to be any object suspended, any equilateral object. So you want it fairly round, fairly symmetrical. and suspended on a chain so that it oscillates freely, so that it swings round all by itself. And that's all you need to create a pendulum. It doesn't have to be a crystal. You don't have to have any great affinity with it. It doesn't have to be, you know, sent down by some divine being. You know, I've used a button before now. You know, I've used bent coat hangers for L rods to find garages when I've been stuck out in the wild. You know, it doesn't matter what it is. The tool is immaterial. It's your intuitive mind that does the dowsing. And the other crucial factor, of course, is when you're dowsing is actually your state of mind. And the mental and emotional stress. Now, that is a big thing at the moment for people. So that we might be putting in all the vitamins and minerals. We might be trying to have a really healthy diet. We might be taking our exercise, because we can still, you know, we're not on a curfew in Britain. We actually can still go out and get fresh air and exercise. So we are still allowed out. So we can still go and have walks. I understand that in other places you can't. So therefore, when you're really isolated like that, your mental and emotional state can really impact your health. I'm not recommending it at the moment, but there's a marvelous book by because obviously not people can get everything, but How Your Mind Can Heal Your Body by Dr. David Hamilton is a brilliant book which talks about how influential your mind is on your health. And this is the same as the work of Dr. Joe Dispenza, that how we think is the primary factor in our health, because our thoughts create our reality. So if we start to think, oh God, you know, I'm feeling depressed, we will become depressed. You know, I feel really isolated, we say to ourselves, so therefore we feel isolated. So it's important to really look at how your mind fields work, because what happens is how we think influence these information fields that are out there in just energy forms, and then that energy becomes form through matter that creates our reality. I did mention a book yesterday by a lady called Dr. Jude Currivan, which is this with The Cosmic Hologram, Information at the Centre of the Universe, Centre of Creation. And this is how actually the universe and our reality is only created by energy, which is in formation. It is, the energy contains all the information. It has yet to become form through matter. And that's the one that I talked about, that talks about predicting the rise and fall of civilizations, the rises and falls of pandemics, the outbreaks of war, that using mathematical algorithms, they can predict now, and Dr. Jude Currivan is part of the team that did that, that presented the information to the World Health Authority, that actually predicted a pandemic in this time. So it's a really, really interesting book. So something has been on the cards for a long time, where the universe is trying to sort of balance itself out, these cycles where it tries to rebalance itself. And this potentially is one of them. So tapping into our inner truth, our ancient wisdom that says, do you know what? We're not these socio-economic systems. We are not capitalism. We as a species are not these constructs that we have made that have held our society together, but not really very well, because we've not looked after everybody. There's huge disparity of wealth and resources. And now we have a chance to do something about it. But dowsing is a fundamental way of helping us tap into that inner wisdom and make real tangible changes into how we treat our marvellous body and our marvellous selves, to make sure we are functioning at our best. And when we function at our best, we can be of service to other people. We can help other people. We can help them get through the difficulties. And okay, I know we're isolated at the moment. Many people are self-isolating. So what we will need to make sure is, I know food is difficult. Some people are extremely difficult to get hold of. What you want to do is, you know, make sure that what we are eating and drinking serves our body to its maximum. I'm very fortunate. We've always been a family of growers and gardeners. So, you know, I have homegrown frozen vegetables, frozen fruit. You know, we've always been a family that have grown our own food, even made our own clothes, you know, bought local honey, had beehives, all those kind of things, because somewhere in our genetics is the need. Part of our my family's ancestral line is the need to actually be self-provided, you know, look after ourselves, to know what we're doing. So fortunately, we've still got allotments we can go to, and, you know, all that kind of thing. But I think what I'm saying is society as a whole has become detached from that. Most people are used to going into a supermarket and just picking off a ready meal. Not everybody, but you know what I mean, some people. And it's like, if you handed them a raw potato, they actually wouldn't know what to do with it. So we've lost touch with the fundamentals of survival. And then along comes a virus, a tiny little, the smallest, one of the smallest influence we could have. And it's had this massive worldwide impact on society and the economy. So something so small can be something so huge at the same time. And what it's done, it's shed all those erroneous layers of society. We're now looking at other people and go, gosh, you know, we're all only people and we're all at risk. And we all need to come together and help each other. And so I'm interested in all that side of it. Don't get me wrong. I feel, you know, the members of my family are thinking, oh my God, they just cannot get this. And, you know, I don't want to get it. You know, I have 2 kids but on a bigger scale, it's a really interesting thing that's happening at the moment. I think it's a massive opportunity and wake up call. And the astrology of this year, is absolutely, the planetary alignments this year, one of these things that happen very, very rarely, every so many hundred years. And the planetary influences this year are amazing, but they are connected to these huge fundamental shifts and the demise of systems and structures of governance and society, to do with Pluto and Mars and all sorts of things. So it was going to be a difficult year, and it runs all year, these conjunctions. You know, they run through right into some really difficult periods, run through right until November. So I'm not saying it's going to be a year of doom and gloom. It could actually be a year of massive change, massive shifts. You know, do we want to go back to polluting our environment, our water the way we have been? Do we want to take this as an opportunity to move forward? And I know dowsing for your own health can seem quite selfish, but actually learning to dowse is a really useful tool if we want to start using our natural resources differently, you know, and taking respect for other creatures and how the world works. It has many, many applications. So if you want me to put a dowsing masterclass together, as I say, I'm quite happy to do that, and that would be available in my group. So I put some videos together and some basic videos and a few worksheets, so the sort of with a few sample questions, the fundamental things that you need to do to know about your diet, your health, with some sample questions for you, so you haven't got to think about asking the ruddy questions, because that's where dowsers, when they're learning, normally go fall flat on the face. It is the question forming that is key, so that we are unattached to the answer and we get to the truth of the matter, not a convenient answer that suits us because that was the easiest course of action. You know, I could say, can I drink a bottle of red wine a day? And the answer would be yes, because of course I can if I want to. Whether I should or not is an entirely different matter if I don't want to be an alcoholic and die an early death, isn't it? You know, so it's how we form these questions. A lot of dowsers will go through a protocol of can I, may I, should I, which I'll just say now I do not, because who are you asking? Who are you asking, can I, may I, should I? Fundamentally, we're doing the dowsing. We are attuning to our higher selves, to higher consciousness. So I don't use that protocol. I will ask things like, you know, taking everything into consideration. Is what's the best course of action, or is it safe, and all those kind of things. So, you know, we all have our own methods, and that's mine. But if you want the masterclass, as I say, just drop a comment below. Yes, please. And I will put something together probably for next week, hopefully. We'll just have to see how things go, because I'm just launching my new program, Abundance Energy Academy. So, which is all about you working in your home, your patch, to create an environment for health and harvest. I would say geomancy as an ancient tool, and is part of these ancient hermetic wisdoms, if you like, has more relevance now than it ever has, because we need to look at how we interact with our environment and the world. Totally. Yes, please. Great. Thank you. We need to look at how we are part of this natural world completely differently than we have been. We seem to look at ourselves as sitting on the top or superior, as in the schism, as the world is there to be plundered and the nature isn't consciousness and animals aren't conscious, and all this kind of stuff that modern society has been teaching us, which is fundamentally flawed. And then we've built a whole, I say, society, socio-economic systems like a house of cards, that as soon as nature does something. I mean, don't get me wrong, you know, nature does things all the time, and there are natural disasters, there are earthquakes, there are tsunamis, but it doesn't affect the whole world the way this has. This has affected everybody, every race, class, creed, country. It's a unifying experience, and we don't have to go into panic and fear. It's very easy to go down that route, we can actually see it as an opportunity to come together and do something really, really positive out of it. And thank you for a few people who sent me messages yesterday, because I wasn't feeling 100% yesterday. I picked the worst week in the world to develop a minor chest infection, which I sometimes do from a lung weakness from previous illnesses. But thankfully, yes, doctors were brilliant. I rung and I said, I'm having difficulty breathing. Straight away I was dealt with. I've never had such fast service, and I'm feeling so much better now. I'm only back on a small preventative inhaler again, but yeah, lungs are clearing lovely. So it's my own fault. I went out and got wet and soaked, I think, the other day. So right, I will put together Dowsing for Health. If you've got any questions, it's basically, you know, about what it's going to cover. If you do want it, I can see a few thumbs up. If you do want it, put some questions below. Share this live if you want to, because there may be many people out there who would value a different look at health right now, but have not yet come across dowsing. You know, share it with your friends, tag people in, mention people. The more people who engage in working differently with their health and more holistically, and dowsing is it is a holistic practice. You know, don't get me wrong, I'm not against modern medicine. Like I said, I've had to use an inhaler at the moment. If it wasn't for modern medicine, I would have died in childbirth twice, as the Irish would say, but I would have done. If I'd survived the second time, I would have died the first. So as I survived the first time through medical intervention, I would have died the second. But there is a balance. There is a balance through modern medicine, and there's a balance of supporting ourselves through what we eat, how we live, and just generally the influences our environment that we can work with. But like I said, tag people in you think might be interested, share it on your page, you know, do whatever. Let's see if we can get more people interested in using Dowsing Health, because it's a fundamentally useful tool that has helped me through all sorts of conditions and health complaints in the past. And when I was in a horrendously abusive marriage, you know, the vitamin load I had to take every day just to survive that was astronomical. But if I hadn't listened to my dowsing and done that, I probably would have been a lot more ill than I came out of it than when I hadn't. So yeah, tag people in, let me know if you want it, definitely, and how many of you want it and all that kind of thing. And yeah, so take care, look after yourselves, stay safe, don't go into panic, send lots of love to the virus. It's just doing a virus's job. It's a novel virus, so we don't know quite what's going to happen, and we have created the conditions for it to rise. So we need to take stock of what we've done and how we've done that. And I think that's my mum just arriving, actually, because we're all corona free at the moment, so we're okay. So I will see you all soon. Take care, and let me know if you want the masterclass by commenting on this now or below, and tag anybody in that you feel might benefit from it as well. All right, take care then. Bye.